YouTube, what's going on? Appreciate y'all watching my videos. Get that glare out of the camera. What's going on? Okay. Right there. What's going on? Chasing Andrew, what's going on, man? I've been watching some of your videos. You out there in the oil fields up there in North Dakota. I can't even hate on you, man. Hey, when you young and you single like that, you ain't got no overhead. Hey, I do it. Yep, I do it. Just pile up cash, man. That's pile up cash. I was thinking about going to the oil fields. I just didn't pull the trigger. You know, I just took advantage of other opportunities. But hey, I high five you, man. Get that money, man. Pile it up. Pile it up long as you can. Long as you got that CDL in your pocket, just pile up so much cash. Don't buy no house. Don't waste your time on no house. Don't buy no flashy car. Just pile up cash. I mean, at the rate that you doing, man, you can retire. I mean, straight up. I mean, you can retire at 40. I mean, straight up. I mean, you can have $1.5 million in investments, just chilling. Just have $1.5 million in investments, just chilling. Pile up that cash. I applaud you. You know, I don't know why a lot of guys don't do what Chasing Andrew's doing, but a lot of guys just be wasting their time. So this video ain't about chasing, but I was just congratulating Chasing on, making a move. Just making moves, man. Just making moves. You see it, you just do it. Like I got a bunch of people in my family. I got a bunch of people in my circle, and I be telling them all these opportunities out here, and I don't know why they be dragging their feet. I got family members, friends, and stuff like that, and it just bothers me sometimes. This is kind of the reason why I wanted to make this video, because I just need to get some stuff off my chest, because it's just, I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry. I come on my videos, and just be talking and telling folk how to run their life. I'm not trying to tell folk how to run their life. But what I am saying is that when some good opportunities out here to get into, you just got to do it. Because that's all I did. It's good opportunities to get into out here, and you just do it. Like Chasing Andrews, like the oil fields paying money. Like you go up to the oil fields for about 3-4 months, you can make a year's salary in 3-4 months running in the oil fields. And like, I don't know why a lot of people don't do it. It's just, it's just crazy. You in trucking, if over the road ain't paying, dry freight not paying, reefer freight, flatbed is not paying, you gotta find another opportunity to find where the opportunity's at. You just gotta look and find. And if you look around and you like, okay, I can go to oil fields. Yeah, it's not gonna be great. It's not gonna be easy. It's not supposed to be easy. Decisions are not always supposed to be easy. But you know, you do your research, and you do some research. You talk to some people. You call some companies. You start to see how much it pays. You write the numbers down, and you look at the numbers, and you're like, okay, I can make 2-3 times what I'm making now. You crunch the numbers. You look at your bills, and make sure you can do it. If the numbers make sense, by golly George, you just gotta go and do it. It's just, I don't know. That's just how my brain works. You know, I've been talking to people, and they've been high-fiving me, congratulating me on making moves and stuff. I mean, the moves that I'm making ain't no different than anybody else out here. I just crunch the numbers, and if it makes sense, I do it. Not all the time, but I say 75% of the time, if I crunch these numbers, and if it's something I want to do, crunch the numbers, I put down a plan, and I'll be like, man, I crunch these numbers. It's going to take me 6 months. It's going to take me 12 months, 3 years, whatever it takes. I can do this. Crunch the numbers. Retirement, buying a house, buying a car, going back to school, developing your career, buying a truck, whatever the case may be. You crunch the numbers. That's all it is. And so I don't understand sometimes, like, people make their life way more complicated than it need to be when all you got to do is just crunch the numbers. Because that's the art of living in America. Living in America is all about crunching the numbers. That's all about. Being successful in America. That's what it's all about. Should you marry somebody, you crunch the numbers. I mean, I'm sorry. You know, like, I'm a guy, right? And if I see a girl and we dating, right? She don't make no money. She don't have a job. I got a job. I crunch the numbers, right? You got to look at, okay, if I crunch the numbers, what your life going to be like? And you do some research and think about, okay, if I marry this girl, if I get serious with this girl, have a baby by this girl, how much it's going to cost you? Long term, 5 years out, 10 years out, what it's going to cost you? You crunch the numbers. More than likely, it's not going to make sense. I know you love her and all that, but your life going to be hell. I'm sorry. You got to meet a girl that got a job, that's got some potential of growth. You know, she's smart, she's intelligent, articulate. She has a job, a good job. And you look at what you do and you put that together and you like, man, if I marry this girl, we can go and move mountains together, you know? And, you know, that's just life. That's just life. You making decisions like that, you know? And so, but I don't know. That's, you know, it is, I don't know. Sometimes, hold on. Got some questions in the comments. Hold on. Hey, 404, I got a question. Can I go home every week with a 1350 truck note? I don't know, man. Like, you got to crunch the numbers. Like I'm saying, crunch the numbers. 2024 Freightliner, 2000 down, 1350 a week. Ooh, 1350 a week? Oh, I didn't see that. 1350 a week? 404, what happened to your live video catalog? There's nothing there. Man, you know, I'm working for the government right now, and I got to be careful what I put on social media. That's just what it boils down to. So it's just, I work for the government, so I got to be careful on what I put on social media. So that's just what it is. So I'm going through my videos and I'm picking things that I think that shouldn't be out there or not. and I have to be careful what I put on there because I work for the federal government, and that information can be perceived as certain type of advice, and I could get in trouble for putting that kind of information out there because it's just I just have to be careful. Giving financial advice, tax advice, and stuff like that on social media. I have to be careful with that. So I'm in the middle of putting the videos back up, but I have to go through some of the videos and make sure that I'm not, representing, yeah, man, $13.50 a week. Ooh, $13.50 a week. I mean, when I was with Snyder, I had a high truck note. I think at the highest, my truck note was, I think $8.50 a week. But like I said, when you doing them leases, man, you got to think logically. Think about it. Think logically. It's you got to think about it. Okay, just think like a real person, because business is just about thinking. Like, you got to think. Okay, $13.50 a week is okay, but how long you expecting to pay this $13.50 a week? Are you building equity in the truck? Because you need to talk to your Snyder finance rep and talk to them and ask them, are you building equity in the truck? Because even though it's a lease, like I know Snyder finance lease, those payments goes towards the balance, and you can actually be working towards owning the truck. You get what I'm saying? And so you need to you just don't be making payments just to be making payments. Like, it needs to be for a reason. I don't mind paying $13.50 a week, but I need to have an end goal. I need to be running this truck for a reason, So it's a total conversation you need to have. It ain't just $13.50 a week. So I did a 1-year lease. I recommend guys only do 1-year leases. And I know when you call Snyder Finance, they're going to be like, oh, we don't have 1-year leases. Fine. But that's the problem right there. And so usually with Snyder Finance, to get a 1-year lease, you got to get a truck with more miles on it. The newer trucks, you can't get them with 1-year leases. The newer trucks, they're not going to give you a 2024 Freightliner or whatever the case on a 1-year lease. It's usually going to be a 3-year, minimum 2 years. And so, because it's not in their benefit to turn over a brand new truck like that. It's just, but you got to look at your benefit. And so you can get a gently used or a more used truck that's got maybe 300,000 miles on it, 350, and get a 1-year lease on it. And then the balance on it is more manageable, and you can look at owning the truck. You know what I mean? And you can get to own a truck ownership in that situation. But you got to have a standard, set some criteria for yourself and say, I only want to look at trucks with a 1-year lease on it. You're already in the truck, so there ain't no point in talking about it. But you have to sit down with somebody that's already done this, and they school you on this game. Because the reason why I say, if you're gonna lease one, you shouldn't, is a lot of guys gonna tell you, don't lease a truck. But if you're gonna do one, only do it on a 1-year lease. And Snyder Finance is one of the better companies I would do it with, because it's more of a finance lease than it is your typical Swift lease. Because your Swift lease, it's not designed for you to own the truck. They're, you know, your U.S. Express lease is not designed for you to own the truck. But Snyder Finance, they build it to where you sign up for that lease, it's pretty much your truck. You just don't own it with the title. You can take that truck to Landstar. You can take that truck to Bennett. You can take that truck over to any owner operated company out there. And so it's you have a lot of control with that truck when you get it through Snyder Finance. And so I'm having a more holistic conversation. It ain't just 1350. Well, in that 1350, you got maintenance. They take out maintenance, and they got a whole bunch of other fees in that 1350. So your base payment could be about $900, but then you got $200 for maintenance, $100 for plates, and all this other stuff that they're trying to secure and make sure that they cover on the truck. And so you gotta be you gotta turn it. You gotta be a business person, you know. And so there's a reason why I tell guys only pursue a 1-year lease. Only pursue a 1-year lease, because 6 months in, you could have an issue. And if there's an issue where you need to turn the truck in, you only obligated to the 1 year, and you can easily walk away from it. But if you're in a 3-year lease, walking away from a 3-year lease is easier than walking away. I'm sorry. Walking away from a 1-year lease is easier than walking away from a 3-year lease, because you walk away from a 3-year lease, you still got to pay that 3-year lease balance and all the fees that come with turning in the truck. Now they do have no recourse leases out there like U.S. Express and not Snyder, but Swift, where you can just turn the truck in anytime. And it's no harm, no foul. But Snyder Finance, they treat you like a real business person. And when you sign on that contract, this is a binding contract, and you got to complete the contract. And so I would rather be binded to a 1 year than a 3 year. So, or 4 year, 5 years. There's people out there got 5-year leases, you know, and leasing the truck is not the best way to get into trucking, but it is a way, and guys are doing it. But if you're gonna do it, you need to look at the contract and read it. I mean, call an attorney up and charge them. They'll charge you an hour, 2 hours to go through the contract with you. It's nothing to call up an attorney. Just Google an attorney and ask them how much they charge to consult you on a contract. It may be $100, $200, $300. Pay them that money. And then you go to their office and say, hey, I want to review this contract. Can you explain this contract? I want to make sure that this contract is in my benefit. You need to understand what kind of situation you're getting into, you know. That's what I would do. You know, pay that $200, $150 hour, sit with that attorney and let them explain to you what's going on in that contract. And so I would do a 1 year lease, you know. And that way you get the truck on a 1 year, and every year you just renew it. You know. And so after the year is up, your Snyder Finance rep is gonna reach out to you maybe 30, 60 days before the lease is up, and they're gonna say, hey, your lease is 30 days, you're gonna need to renew, or you want to renew. They're gonna send you the new contract for another year. It's just like renting an apartment, and you just sign it and move on, and you just keep making the same payments. That is a better business situation, because you always have an exit strategy right there ready to execute. And so that, to me, that just makes sense. And so back to what you were saying before about the $13.50 a week. before you sign up for something like that, you need to figure out what are guys grossing. What are guys grossing at Snyder Finance? When I was with Snyder Finance, I had 2 trucks with Snyder Finance. I had 2 trucks. I had one truck at $850, and then I had another truck. I think it was at $650 a week. Okay. The first truck, that truck was gently used, and I think it had 150,000 miles on it. The second truck, that truck had 300 or so thousand miles on it. Both trucks were great. I never had any issues out of those trucks other than just basic maintenance that I can recall. One of the trucks, I was able to own it. I was able to get the title for it. I was able to pay it off. And I was very diligent for that because I actually paid extra payments on the truck. And when the truck got down to a balance, I just wrote them a check and bought the truck. And took ownership of the truck. But that was me. That was just my diligence in that. But it's just like anything else. You got to use some sense, and so you got to figure out what are they grossing. And so when I was leased on to them, I was able to go home regularly. When I was leased on to Snyder Finance, I was able to go home regularly on a regular. You just, like, a lot of guys be scared to go home on a lease, but it ain't no different than having a truck note. It ain't no different than running a truck with a truck note, and you just have control over it. That's all. I mean, when I was leased on, and I would gross anywhere between $4,000 to $5,000 a week when I was leased on to Snyder Finance. And so I would gross anywhere from about $3,000 to $5,000 a week, plus or minus a couple $100 here or there. It's not perfect 3,000, but on the low end, 2,500 in a week. And on the high end, 5,000 on a week. Because some weeks I would only work 1 or 2 days, and then some weeks I would run 6-7 days out of the week. And so you just got to figure, how to make the numbers work. And so it's just like running as a company driver. When you have a truck note like that and you paying it every week, it's no different than running like a company driver. And so you know how when you run as a company driver over the road, 1 week you would run 8-7 days, right? 9-10 days. And then halfway into the second week, you would take off 2 or 3 days. When you come out the house, you need to have a big load coming out the house to make up for them other days before the check cut off. And so say you go home on a Wednesday. You go home Wednesday. You come back out the house on a Saturday. Payroll cuts off at Sunday. So you need to run those 2 days. Those 2 days, you need to have a good paying load, because when you went home on a Wednesday, you already had, say you already had about 3,000 in revenue. And if you company driver, say you get paid by the mile. Say you had 1,500 miles as a company driver on a Wednesday. You're going home. That Saturday coming out the house, that Saturday needs to be 1,000-mile load so you can turn it in and put it on this check so you can have a steady check. It's the same thing running. It's the same thing. So when you're running with the truck payment every week like that, it's the same thing. And so it's no different than paying it monthly. Paying the payment monthly, you just got more time to get the money together. And so it's all a numbers game. You playing with the numbers. You got to learn how to run a business. It's business management. And so It's no different than having a truck payment by the month and paying it by the week. It's just that, so when you're running monthly and you're making the truck payment monthly, you got a $2,000 a month truck payment. Beginning of the month, that means you have to run so many amount of revenue to pay for the truck note. And you going home on the weekend and time off, you have to factor in all that. And you just got more time to get the money. During the week, when you have a truck payment during the week, it's like you only have that's the 6-7 days to get the money. And so the $1,350 payment is pretty high, but that's why I tell guys to do the 1-year lease, because sometimes you just need experience. You got to pay for that experience. And once you get experience, because me telling somebody, they're not going to get it. Sometimes you're just not going to get it. Sometimes people are hard-headed and they just rather go out there and just fall flat on their face and figure it out. Oh, now I see what 404 talking about. Oh, now I see what Chase and Andrew talking about. Yeah, you had to go out there and bump your head. And so now you see there are different ways to do it. And so, okay. And so say you want to say you got a $1,350 truck note and you want to gross $5,000 for the week, but you want to go home the next week. So a lot of guys will say, you're gonna be in the hole. Well, yeah, it's the same way paying the payment by the month. It's the same way. And so when you run the truck and you need $5,000 for the week, well, that means if you're gonna take off next week, you have to run a little bit extra to cover next week expenses. That's all. And so in order for you to go home next week, you have to run maybe $6,000 in revenue, $5,500 in revenue. Running $6,000 in revenue will put you $1,000 ahead for the next week. And then when you come back out, you only got to run just a little bit to put some revenue on the table. That'll cover your expenses, and then you in the good. And so for the third week, that week will just be money in your pocket. And so, like, guys, they make running a lease truck, when you're making payments by the week, they make a big deal out of nothing, in my opinion. It's just you gotta sign up for the correct lease. I mean, that payment, $1,350 a week, that's high, man. That's just outright high. I know a couple guys over there at Snyder, even with these low rates out here, they're still getting $5,000 weeks. So, I mean, I know a handful of guys that's grossing $6,000 all through this COVID period over at Snyder Finance. So, I mean, that's the benefit of working for a big carrier. When you leased onto a big carrier, their rates are locked in. And so you get the benefit of maintaining a good steady settlement coming in, this good steady amount of revenue coming in, because you're leased onto a large publicly traded carrier like that. So that's, it's all about the numbers. And you should have done the research before you even sign up for something like that. It's just not business. It's just not good business sense to sign up for something like that and you haven't done the research. You do it first, then so let me see. Chaser said road run now to a 13 weekly payment run. Yeah, I mean, it's just, I said all that, but at the end of the day, I wouldn't sign up for $1,350. That's $5,400 a month, man. $5,400. $5,400 in 3 months you can go buy you a truck. You know, you can go buy a truck with that kind of money in 6 months. What's that? 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. In 6 months, that's 30 grand. I mean, that's a lot of money. You go buy a truck. You can buy a truck cash with that. You know, but we all got to bump our head and figure it out, and we got to crunch our numbers. We got to do accounting. We got to do business management, and we got to look at what we're doing and keep track of what we're doing. That's all. The numbers will speak to you. You know, 1350 may not be high, but now do 1350 times 8, which is 8 weeks. 10,800. That's good down payment for a semi truck. So instead of paying, I save up 10,000 and go to dealership and pay. Yeah. I mean, it's not always simple as just going to a dealership, because now I'm not trying to justify getting a 1350 truck note. This is why I tell guys to get a 1-year lease. If I'm talking to the Snyder finance rep and all he got is 1350 truck notes, I'm just not going to do it. Let's just stop it right there. I'm not going to do it. I'm going to ask the Snyder finance rep, when you get some trucks in that y'all want to put on 1-year leases, call me and let me know. That's all I'm interested in. I don't want to do anything more than a 1-year lease. I don't want to do that, because you're talking about a commitment. You're signing a contract, and anything can go with that truck. You can get an accident. You go to the hospital. The truck can start breaking down. You can get a lemon truck. You're still responsible for them payments. There's, in the contract, it states there are rare situations where they'll let you out that lease. That means the truck has to break down constantly. You're in the shop. You have to exhaust all your resources for them to let you get out that lease. And that is a worst case scenario. You in the shop 1 or 2 times, they're not going to do it, for them to let you out that contract. But, I done seen some guys get caught up in some crazy mess in them contracts. And I wouldn't sign up for a 3-year lease. Not at them kind of payments. That is real tight. You can't run a business like that. Let's just dead that right there. But if you can get a 1-year lease where the payments are manageable, $700-800 a week, 800 is my max. I'll be trying to push for something around 6, on a 1-year lease, 600 to 700 a week on a 1-year lease. I don't want no maintenance account. I want to manage my own maintenance account. Because on a 1-year lease, these are trucks that are usually high with the more miles on them. So you talking about 300,000 miles on a truck. And so they're not going to require a maintenance escrow. And so with the maintenance escrow, it's this 6, say you got a payment for 700, and then they're going to charge you another 300 for maintenance escrow. And so that's $1,000 a week. And so when stuff is wrong with the truck, you always got to get approval, and it's just monotonous. It just doesn't make sense when you're running your own truck and they're getting in the way of you standing at the shop, and you got to wait a day to get approved for some tires or a repair on your truck. You ain't gonna want to do that, and you just want to pay the payment and take care of the truck on your own. If you want to go to the shop, you get the price from the shop and you pay the shop and be done with it. And so you just save your own maintenance account, and that's a better way to do it. But the only way they'll let you do that unless it's a used truck. On the newer trucks, they might have changed it since I was there, but they require a maintenance escrow. And so I'm sure of that 1350 payment, a bunch of it is a maintenance escrow, $300-400 a week maintenance escrow. You know, it's basically a business on training wheels, to be honest, because they're not letting you run your truck the way you run it. You can't put your own tires on there. You can't take the truck to the maintenance shop that you want to use. They got a network. It's annoying, you know. And so um that's just my opinion on that. But a lot of guys in the comments, they're gonna get on you about that 1350. I'm gonna get on you too, because that's high. You know, I tell guys, only get on a 1 year lease. Only do 1 year leases only. It just gives you more flexibility. You can walk away from it. You can run a business that way. You can make good business decisions that way, not being handcuffed to this truck, you know. And but sometimes you just got to put the work in. At the end of the day, you have to put the work in. It is what it is. Everybody got to put their time in. It's a hell of a way to put your time in, but I mean, because when I started in trucking, I had $5,000 to my name, and I had like 50,000 in my retirement, and I don't believe in touching my retirement for nothing whatsoever unless it's like the last resort. The only time I recommend touching a retirement account is unless you're on your deathbed or something like that. If you go to the hospital and the doctor diagnose you with cancer or something like that, and it's gonna cost a bunch of money. But other than that, I don't recommend. So that's all I had. I had 5,000. That's what I had. And so when I started with trucking, that's what I had. And so Snyder Finance was a chance for me to own my own truck, and I was successful with it. But I would only do 1 year leases on it. And so your 1 year lease trucks, they're gonna be used trucks. They're gonna be trucks with 300,000 miles on it. So you got to contact the Snyder Finance rep and ask them, hey, do y'all have used trucks that you would put on a 1 year lease? And he'll send you the list of trucks. And you know, don't get no 2024 nothing. Don't mess with them trucks. Just don't. Yeah, man, that's $70,000 a year, man. That's a lot. 70,000. Ooh, boy. You can go and get you a good used truck for that kind of money. 70,000. You can get you a good used truck with about 300,000 miles on it. A good used truck is about 60, 70,000. So that's about a truck with about 300,000 miles on it. You can, you know, I mean, yeah. I mean, to be honest, I just wouldn't do it. I just wouldn't do it. I mean, anything more than 800 a week, I just wouldn't do it. The rates are just not paying that good. And Snyder has some decent rates for their contractors. So Snyder has some good rates for their contractors, but they're not that good. I know guys are still grossing $5,000-6,000 a week at Snyder. So yeah, I mean, it's but I mean, Roadrunner is cool, but I know two guys that run for Roadrunner. Roadrunner is not like they used to be. You know, because I was gonna lease on the Roadrunner, but I know two guys over there. Nothing what I heard that really like tickled me right. And so I went and got my own authority. So I just went and got my own authority. And because with Roadrunner, they changed a whole lot of stuff. And you know, they got a halfway decent truck leasing program, But I don't know. It's been a while since I talked to guys over there at Roadrunner, but I do know two guys who work at Roadrunner, and it's just a lot of crazy stuff they done did. They done changed up a lot of things, and the changes don't benefit the drivers. It makes things worse for the drivers. And so, you know, I mean, at the end of the day, man, you know, it gets to a point where you just gonna have to just, I mean, I'm to the point where it's just hard to build a trucking business by yourself. You know, it's just hard to build a trucking business, you know, and it just comes to a point where you just find just a good local gig, man, and just be home every day and make 75,000 a year, 75, $80,000 a year. You can find some that make about 75, 80,000 and just drive local and be home every day. That's just it. That's just about it. I mean, some of the guys that I know that make the most money in trucking, these are the guys that drive local. They doing something specialized. You know, they either driving for Cisco, McLean, or something like that. Gordon Foods or something like that, or they driving a gas truck, they driving tanker, or they driving dump trucks, and they home every night. These are the guys that making the most money that I know in trucking. Other than that, you know, you got some grain haulers. You got guys that run grain. You know, I know a guy, he run grain. He making good money in trucking. He grossing 100,000 home every day. He running grain, but it's not in the city. You know, I live in the city, you know, and, you know, I don't have a big yard to park a truck. And so it's just one of those things, you know. And so it came to a point, I was just thinking I'll just get out of trucking, you know. Trucking is a lot, man. It's a lot. And so it's a lot of the money to make out here in other professions. And so 4-year lease at JB Hunt. Oh, why did you sign up for a lease though? Are you did you have a truck? You must didn't have a truck, and JB Hunt is leasing you a truck. I don't know why y'all keep on signing up for these multi-year leases with these companies. You know, like I wouldn't sign up for that stuff, man. I wouldn't sign up for nothing that's gonna lock me down for a long period of time. It's just not good business sense to do that. Because you got a tractor trailer, a tractor that could break down anytime. And they pretty much got you by the balls, right? That contract, they got you by the balls. And you got to have some business sense to not sign that. You know, there are a bunch of other companies out here where it's a lease that you can walk away from, or you can sign up for a lease that's a 1 year. Because 6 months in, the truck will be breaking down. You could get sick or whatever. You could be hospitalized for 3-4 months. You still got to make them payments. They don't care about you being in the hospital. You got to have enough savings in the bank to cover them payments. They're going to be drafting your account. It's going to overdraft. And so you just got to have when you mess with stuff like that, you got to have some business sense. You not only got to be paying bills at the house, you have to be stacking up cash. You got to be piling up cash, because you never know when that truck gonna break down. You never know when you're gonna get sick. You got to prepare for your own sick leave. You got to have your own sick leave. And so I wouldn't sign for no 4-year lease. You just asking for it. Just one sign up for no 4-year lease. 1 year. 1 year. You know, that's just my opinion. You know, it's just good business sense. And so you don't want to subject yourself to a situation where you don't have control over the freight. At least with Snyder Finance, you go over to Snyder, you got control of the freight. They got a load board, and you go home, you have control over how the payments and how you go home, and you know what I mean. So if you want to go home for a couple of days and you got revenue on the books to pay for your weekly expenses, you can go ahead on home. You can crunch your numbers. Just say, okay, my weekly expenses is 2,500. I got 2,200 of revenue. Okay, I'm good. All I need is another 300 in revenue plus the other revenue I need to pay my bills. You know what I mean? And so that's kind of how you run a truck in the hole when you want to go home, you know. And so don't go home with no revenue on the books. And so it's a little game you got to play when you running these lease trucks and you want to go home. I did it all the time. You know, I went home all the time. You know, and so you just got to run the revenue, keep revenue on the books enough to cover your revenue. And so you run the loads that you need to cover your revenue. I mean, I know when I was at Snyder Finance, I knew it took maybe 1 or 2 loads, 2 days to run to pay my weekly expenses. The other 3-4 days of running, it just profit. You know, and so you just got to run it. So for example, you take 1350, you divide that by 5-6 days of running. Okay, let's say 5 days. So if your expenses is $1,000, you divide that by 5. Okay, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. So you know, you divide that by 5. If your expenses are $1,000 for the week and you got 5 days of running, you divide them by 5, you divide the expenses by 5, you know, every load that you book got to be at least 300, you know, and it is. And so you book a load for, say you book a load for 700. Well, 300 of that 7 gonna go to expenses. You 400 to the good, and you just keep on doing it. And I mean, it's not that bad, you know. And so you just gotta be a good business management skills. That's all, you know. Is I was with Super Ego but left cause no money. Yeah, I heard some bad stuff about Super Ego. I heard some bad stuff about them. Sauce Boss. Sauce Boss, what's going on? I see you got a wrench. I must have made you a moderator. Sauce Boss. The company I'm with, I'm grossing 65,000 a week consistently. Yeah, I mean, it's companies out there that's got multi-year contracts, so they're able to maintain the contracts. You know, if you're on a op, you're not getting good rates off the broker boards. You're just not. You got to be leased on to a good company that's got the contracts and got the work. You know, I have a circle of guys that's making those revenues all through COVID. You know, it slowed down a little bit through COVID, but I still talk to these guys, and they like, man, I'm grossing $6,000 a week, no problem. And these guys getting home on the regular. You know, it's slow. You know, I talk to guys, and it's slowing down a little bit, but for the most part, it just depends on the company you lease to and what kind of work that they contract with. You know, so it just all depends. So, you know, so I mean, I didn't mean to go on this tangent because I meant to make this video about something else, but you know, y'all started talking about trucking, so I I started talking about trucking. But I mean, to be honest, if you want to get into trucking, I think what you can do is you got to find another way to get $5,000 to $10,000. You got to find another way to get $5,000 to $10,000 so you can get $5,000 to $10,000 and put that down and go get your own truck. And the same thing applies. The same thing applies. The same thing applies. The same thing applies. Sorry about that, y'all. It's somebody dog running out here. But yeah, so the thing is like you can go get a truck. I mean, like with Chasing Andrews, he talked about his $15,000 flat top. I mean, basically Chasing Andrews just laid out the blueprint for you. I mean, that's just a good way to do it. You can't be in a hurry. You can't be in a rush to run out here and get into trucking, because you want to rush and get out here and lease a truck and be paying $13.50 a week. Why? When you don't have to, when you can just take your time and just save some money, save $5,000 or $10,000. You can just save $5,000 or $10,000. Take that, you save up $10,000 because you're gonna put down money on a truck. You don't want to put the whole 10 down. No company is gonna let you put your whole $10,000 down on a truck, and that's all the money you got. You need some operating capital. And so basically you're going to have to get by 10,000, and you're going to need to put $5,000 down, keep the other 5 as operating capital. That's what you're going to need to do. And so either you can find a truck you can pay cash for. You can find a truck that you can pay cash for. You can find a truck that sitting in somebody's backyard somewhere, and you're just gonna have to go out here and comb the streets. You know, sometimes you might have to fly to the other part of the country and get a truck and drive it back home. I've known guys to do that. Sometimes you find a deal. Say you live in Florida, but the truck in Texas. You just gonna have to fly out there and look at the truck, and it might take you multiple trips. But we talking about starting a business here. We talking about starting a multi-six-figure business here. Spending $1,000 on plane trips, that's nothing. We talking about running a business, sustaining a business. And sometimes you got to look at the long-term benefits of what you're trying to do. And guys get caught up in this short-term stuff, trying to get a truck. They hungry, and they ain't even do no research and figure out how much it's going to cost to run this truck. And so they get surprised. Why are you surprised that the truck payment is $13.50? Why are you asking me questions about is a $13.50 truck payment high? You should have known that before you even signed up for the thing. The Snyder Finance rep, when you're about to sign that contract with Snyder Finance, you looking at 2-3 months, maybe 4 months before orientation and before you take control of that truck. So you got 2, 3, 4 months to do a lot of research. Because I know before I signed on with, before I contracted with Snyder Finance, I think it took me a year. It took me a year to make the decision and pull the trigger. I did a whole bunch of research. I talked to a whole bunch of drivers. I got my money together. I did research on taxes. I knew how my taxes gonna turn out and look like. I knew generally how much revenue that was gonna come in. I knew how much per day in revenue I was gonna make. I had a general idea on how much the truck is gonna cost and the truck expenses. I had a good range of information to crunch to say, should I do this? I wasn't surprised at all. And I came pretty close. What my numbers gonna look like, what my revenue was gonna look like. And to be honest, I think I came out above what I thought I was gonna be. And so when guys be asking these questions like this tells me that you didn't do no research. And you really just, you're not taking the business seriously. How do you go into a business? We talking about a business, going into business, and you not do research. That just don't make no sense. Just don't make none at all. And so, this goes back to making that decision. What I started this video off, making decisions, crunching the numbers. You didn't crunch no numbers. Because I looked at going to a dealership, I looked at leasing a truck, and I looked at the different finance leases and a regular standard lease, and I look at financing, outright financing, and so it's kind of one of those things. But generally speaking, most guys gonna tell you it's better to just go to the dealership and finance the truck. Go to multiple dealerships and get multiple quotes and get an understanding on where your credit at, and talk to guys, different carriers, and looking at the revenue. And you need to have a holistic conversation about how the revenue, because one guy at the same company could run different than another guy, and their revenues can be totally different. One guy, he only like to run 4 days a week. Another guy, he like to run 6, 7 days a week. The revenue is going to be different. One guy like to run out and back. He got a feel for the load board, and like there are loads on the board that he run out and back, and he home every day. His revenue going to be different than somebody who run all over the country and just book loads how they come. The revenue just going to look different for everybody. And you need to get the research, get that information together, and get a feel for how you like to run, and then apply it to the situation and say, okay, I know I like to run 5 days, and I know in 5 days I can do $1,000 a day, which is very obtainable on Snyder Finance. You can run $1,000 a day, and you can crunch those numbers and see where your revenue is going to be. And then you can see what your tax is going to be like. So, okay, I think I need to put back $5,000 a quarter, $4,000 a quarter for taxes. I need to make estimated tax payments for $3,000, $4,000 a quarter. You know what I mean? And you setting yourself up for success, and you need to budget for maintenance. Start crunching them numbers. And once you start crunching them numbers, you start to realize you're making no more money than a company driver. But it's a long game. It's a long-term game, because it's going to be that way until you pay that truck off. That's just what it is. You don't have any assets yet. I mean, when my truck and trailer was paid off, I was making so much money. Like that's where you really start to see the money. If it's gonna take you about 3, 4, 5 years to pay off equipment, well, that's just what it is. You have to put your time in. You're not gonna see the benefit of being in trucking until you pay that equipment off. Trucking is beautiful, but as long as you got these payments, these high expenses, you're not gonna see the beauty in trucking. You know, I love trucking. I made so much money in trucking. I love the independence in trucking. You know, you come and go as you please. And so until you get that equipment off, trucking just won't be fun. It's like I started really enjoying trucking when I started getting my equipment paid off. When you're making 5,000-6,000 a week and all you got is insurance and fuel, and you just put back money for maintenance, it's like you making so much money. You know, the money is like, wow, it's ridiculous, man. Like, you have equity. You have an asset, you have a trailer that's worth 25,000-30,000. You got a truck that's worth 50,000-60,000. You have 100,000 in assets going down the road. You're generating almost 200,000 gross for the year. On the low end, 150. You got a legitimate, substantial, you got a sustaining business. But you're not going to get there in a week. You're not going to get there in a year. You're not going to get there in 2 years. It takes a lot of time. Trucking, owning a truck, is a commitment. You're committing to this business, you know? And, you know, I try to explain that to guys. You know, guys be like, you know, this, that, and the third. Is like, look, your first 5 years in trucking is going to be rough. Just understand that you're not going to see no profit until you pay off that equipment. You got to get equipment paid off. That's just what it is. You got to put your time in. And so you got to pile up cash. You have to invest. You have to get your equipment paid off. You're not going to see the benefits until you start piling up cash, investing your money, and paying off that doggone equipment. That's just what it is. And so, like, I remember running my truck. I was like, wow, I'm really starting to make some real money in trucking. You know, you're grossing $15,000-$20,000 a month. You know, it's ridiculous. You know, $20,000, $25,000 a month. I've seen $30,000 months, man. You know, and then you pay, my fuel bill would be $4,000 or $5,000 for the month. You know, I'll spend $5,000 on fuel. I have insurance, $1,000. You know, you spend $3,000 on expenses and you gross 20,000, you know, it's just kind of one of those things, but you're not going to get there overnight. It takes time. It takes time. I mean, just like Chase and Andrew talk about, he talking about going to the oil fields. You can be a W-2 driver and go to the oil fields and just pile up cash. You know, just go to oil fields and just pile up cash. It's a commitment. It's just like going to college. You know, you just go to college, stick your head down, and just do the work until it's time. And so, you know, it's just, you know, it's a commitment. It's a sacrifice you got to put down. You got to decide if there's something you really want to do. That's just kind of my opinion on that. You know, 1350 is high. It's I'm not gonna lie, man. 1350 is high. I mean, that's high. You can make it work, but you can't have nothing go wrong in that truck. You can't have no breakdowns. You can't be sick. I mean, you in the hospital because you sick for about a month or two. You talking about almost $10,000 in 10 months. In 10 months, not 10 months, in 2 months, 8 weeks, that's $10,000 in the hole. Because you were sick, you was in an accident, whatever the case may be. And we're gonna act like this stuff never happens. You a truck driver, never get in an accident. You know, you never get sick. I mean, let's just act like none of these things happen. I got in an accident. You know, I'm lucky to be here to talk about it. You know, but you know what? I had savings. That's what saved me. I had savings. You know, I was able to repair my trailer. I was able to prepare my trailer. Wait on insurance company. I wasn't waiting on insurance company. I was able to pay the tow truck driver. I was able to pay the $4,000 to get my trailer fixed and get right back to work. The insurance company didn't cut me a check until like 2 months later. It was 2 months later. I know most guys, they just don't have $5,000-$6,000. For some reason, guys in trucking are not running a business. They just don't have the capital for some reason when you're running a business. If you're not doing those things, this is not something you should be doing. You need to look into another profession. If you're working check to check in trucking, when you running your own truck, I don't understand how you can do that. I really don't understand how you can be an independent driver out here and don't have no doggone savings. I don't understand that. But you know, that's each his own. You know, I guess guys, you know, everybody is able to make their own decisions. I don't get that, but that's just my opinion. I've had issues running down the road. I bought tires, and you take the good with the bad. That's part of running a business. And so I ran my truck. I've had breakdowns just like anybody else. I blew tires just like anybody else. And you just roll with it like a businessman. You just, oh, well, I gotta call the tow truck. They tow it, and you go down there and make the repairs, pay the bills, and keep on moving, man. This business. If you scared to write checks in the business, this is just not a business you should be in. Because when you're in trucking, you got to write some checks. You get insurance claims. You got to deal with brokers not paying you. I mean, that's just what it is. Shippers and warehouses not paying you. You know, I done ran freight back to the house. I done ran 600 miles and took the freight back to the warehouse. I know a lot of guys, they scared to do that. You know, they scared to burn some fuel, boy. Guy, I be talking to guys, they scared to burn some fuel. You scared to burn $200 in fuel, man? Okay. 600 miles times, you know, the cost of fuel, and you do the math, you're looking at about $200. You know, take the freight back. Just take it on back. The sooner you make that decision instead of sleeping, the sooner you make that decision and take that freight back, get that freight off your trailer, the sooner you can move on. And a lot of times I've had brokers compensate me for running the freight back. But it's just like, it's kind of one of those things, like guys are scared to run a business. And I don't know what it is. But that's just my opinion. You know, it's just my opinion. But trucking is something else, man. This is something else, you know. But I appreciate y'all watching my videos. I got an hour on here talking about trucking. But yeah, I appreciate y'all watching my videos. I'll see y'all next time.